Welcome to On the Horizon right here on WWSU 106.9. And for the first time ever, the WWSU 106.9 YouTube channel. So I'm Shay Neal, if we haven't met before. Well, now the show's officially back. But no, I am Shay Neal. If we have not met before, nice to meet you. If we have met before, I appreciate you coming back. There are three types of people, I should say, that listen to the show. People that enjoy my sports takes, that probably makes up about 2% of the listener base. People that think I'm an idiot and like laughing at me, that's about 95%. And then the last 3% are people that are just bored out of their mind and stumbled across this. So to all three types of people that listen to the show, welcome. I appreciate you. And even if you hate me and think I'm the biggest moron on the face of the planet, you still help me get paid to do this. So thank you. You the real MVP, as Kevin Durant would say. We have a big show for you today. Wright State basketball schedules are out. I'm excited to get into that. Wright State soccer coming, starting conference play as well. Volleyball starting conference play with an NKU match this weekend. But we're going to do something a little unconventional. I know this is called On the Horizon. I know we talk Horizon League sports. But I'm a Reds fan. And yeah, you already know what's about to happen now, don't you? Yeah, no. We're about to rant. The Cincinnati Reds are absolutely pathetic. Pathetic. Had a 2-game lead for the wild card less than a month ago. Decided to lose 9 consecutive series. You might be asking, well, maybe they had a tough schedule. No. Second easiest schedule in all of baseball. Who did they lose those 9 series to? Pirates, twice. The Cubs. The Miami Marlins. The St. Louis Cardinals, twice. And to name the Dodgers. So, yeah, the Dodgers are good. But still, how do you lose to the Pirates twice? How does that happen? What is wrong with you? And before I get into, fully into this, I do want people to know that if your name is Joseph Daniel Votto, you will be spared from the wrath of this rant, because Joey Votto is the GOAT. And I have nothing against him. 38 years old, still absolutely elite. And he's the only player on this roster that seems to care. So we go from there. Nick Castellanos, bro, you were so good for like 5 months. You came up with the bases loaded, nobody out last night. What'd you do? You popped out. Nice. Mike Moustakas, when you're not eating yourself onto the IL, you're hitting 209. Nice. Eugenio Suarez, that 184 batting average is looking mighty good. Dead last in all of baseball. Wade Miley hits the ball better than you. Congrats. Kyle Farmer. You've actually had a pretty solid year. I'm not going to be too mean to Kyle Farmer, but when you're trying to fight for the playoffs, why is Kyle Farmer your starting shortstop? Why is that a thing? TJ Friedel, you might be the next freaking second coming of Jesus Christ. I mean, you're hitting 500 4 games into your career with like 5 RBIs. So good job. Keep it up. We need more people like you. Jesse Winker, I'm sorry you got hurt. It really kind of made everything go south. Okay, let's keep it going here. Tucker Barnhart, you have not been playing like Tucker Barn GOAT in the month of September. You've been playing more like the 230 career hitter that you are. Let's move on to the bullpen. Jeff Hoffman, yikes. That's all that needs to be said. Michael Lorenzen, 6 ERA in the month of September. Amir Garrett, averaging over a walk per inning pitched in the last 2 months. Lucas Sims, he's been all right. TJ Antone, unfortunate that he went down with an injury, of course. And we have a message here on the show. The Reds pulled a complete Cleveland Browns from 3 seasons ago. They killed it and still found a way to suck in the end. Absolutely. You're absolutely right. It's the most Cincinnati thing ever, isn't it? They give you just a shred of hope. They let you believe, and then they rip your heart out. And the best part is the team that they blew the lead to is their arch rivals, the St. Louis Cardinals. It's a fun time. It's a very fun time. But I'm excited. I mean, this show's back. It feels good to be back. We took a little bit of a hiatus back in the spring, but we're back, and it feels good. And now that the Reds are done, I don't have to worry about it anymore. I can focus on Joe Burrow, Bengals football. and Horizon League sports, where here at Wright State, they actually know how to win. That's nice. I will be going to the Reds game tomorrow night. I will throw that in, but no, I did not pay for it. So, the Reds paid me to go. That's basically what happened here. No. No, the Reds are just absolutely terrible. And the whole time we've been here on the show so far, we've had Parker Testa sitting across the studio listening to this rant. And Parker, welcome. And on a scale of 1 to 10, this wasn't my best rant that I've ever had, but I mean, there were some shots fired.
It was pretty good. I mean, every point that you just made is valid.
Yeah.
Very valid.
And don't get me started on Wade Miley's 85-mile-an-hour cutter.
Oh man, it's wow. But every point you just made is extremely valid. Like you said, Joey Votto is excused from this rant. The comment that was made about Jeff Hoffman was fantastic.
Yikes.
And yeah, I mean, it's certainly been a rough go of it from the Reds. And I know Pat, our engineer, just said he sent you a message on our software.
And he was absolutely correct.
The Reds are the Cleveland Browns of 3 years ago, where they started out strong and completely died at the end, which is accurate.
Yep. Now, this is absolutely like the 2011 Reds, where they came in with good expectations. They played very, very well, and then they crapped it away to the Cardinals, who eventually won the World Series. And I'm hoping that history isn't repeating itself because the Cardinals refuse to lose right now, and that's terrifying. As a Dodgers fan, how worried are you about the Cardinals right now heading into the playoffs?
I give about a 6 out of 10. I think they have talent.
You'll probably be facing Wainwright in the wild card game.
And I'm okay with Wainwright. I mean, the dude's like 67 years old.
On a good day.
He's still decent. He's still a decent pitcher. He still has decent stuff. But I mean, I'm comfortable enough in the Dodgers' ability to hit Wainwright.
That, and he'd be going up against Scherzer, so
right.
You'd be fine.
Right.
Yeah. Scherzer doesn't give up runs. That's not what he does.
No.
No. I mean, it's like I said, I have such a love-hate relationship with the Cincinnati Reds. It's like a toxic ex that you keep going back to because they convinced you that they changed, and then it's the same old crap. That's basically what's happening here. I want them to change because I see the good in them, but at the end of the day, all they're doing is harming me. And I need to just get away from that toxic relationship. So, Reds, I'll see you in March. Actually, I'll see you tomorrow, but then I'll see you in March.
Man. But I mean, if we're talking baseball, that's not the Cincinnati Reds. These playoffs are about to be a blast.
Wild.
A blast. Especially with I'm curious to see how the AL East shapes out.
I'm curious to see if the Yankees actually get in.
I don't think they will.
What's crazy is we might have a Yankees-Red Sox wild card game. How crazy would that be?
Oh, man.
Sale versus Cole, AL wild card winner takes all.
If they have it at Fenway, oh, man.
If they have it at Yankee Stadium, oh, man, too. But, yeah, no, I mean, I talked to you before the show today. I said that now that the Reds are done, I need to find a team to hop on the bandwagon for the next couple months. And I'm not going to say, the Rays or the Dodgers or the Giants. I'm not going to go with a team that's going to win 100 games. I think I'm going to be a Blue Jays fan for the rest of the year.
All right.
I like Toronto.
I did too.
And I'm rooting for them.
I mean, I'm I would root for Boston before I would root for the Blue Jays, but I love what the Blue Jays have done.
Yeah.
They have, so much talent, 1 through 9. With Springer, with Bichette, with
what are your Semyons?
Vladdy Jr. Semyon's revived his career. So, and it's the same story in their pitching staff. I mean, Ryu's been great.
They picked up Barrios. They have that Alek Manoah kid that they called up as a stud.
Yeah.
So I mean, and then their bullpen has not been the greatest all year, but they're finally getting healthy again. Jordan Romano came back. Julian Merriweather. They have a couple decent arms in there, and of course, next year it won't really help this year, but starting next year they'll also have Kirby Yates back.
Right.
So, it's a team that I think could challenge for the AL East division next year.
West.
Yeah, the West. But the team I mentioned this a couple weeks ago, but the team that I really am like all eyes on. I'm not really necessarily rooting for them, but the team that I'm like 100% convinced is a top 3 team in the league, and I think has a really good shot to win the World Series, is the Milwaukee Brewers.
Right.
I know that their offense is kind of hit or miss night to night, but Avi Garcia's had a great year. Christian Yelich is still capable of beating anyone in any at bat. You have, on the infield, you have Luis Urias had a nice year. Willie Adames has been unbelievable. Daniel Vogelback is a nice bench bat. Omar Narvaez has had an all-star caliber season.
Yeah.
But no matter how inconsistent their offense is, I don't see a team that can win a best of 7 series when you have to go up against Woodruff, Burns, Peralta, and then if you get through them, Williams, Hader, Boxberger, Suter, all these just nasty arms in Milwaukee. I think their pitching is just too strong, and I would not be surprised at all if they're hoisting the World Series trophy.
It's going to happen at some point. You don't have a pitching staff, especially a starting rotation that good, and not win a World Series. Mm-hmm. It's bound to happen at some point. And I mean the Brewers have been great all year long. I love what Craig Counsell's doing. But you can't go, like you said, you can't go through 7 games and expect
You're going to have to beat Burns 3 times in a 7-game series.
And you have to beat Woodruff twice.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
Right.
So it's insane to think how good they are. Like you said, their offense is hit or miss, but that pitching staff is elite.
And how good that pitching staff is, they really only need to score 2-3 runs a game.
Right.
So
yeah.
Which is terrifying because that can happen on one swing of the bat from Christian Yelich in the first inning, and then you're done because Burns is going to throw 7 shutout innings, and then you go Williams, Hader.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you walk your guy, and if you get a long double first to home, you have 1.
Right.
And then 1 knock, and you're up 2-3 runs. Burns, Woodruff, Hader, you're going to shut them down. You win the game, and you're going to do that 4 times in that series easily.
Absolutely. And there's not many pitchers in all of baseball that I'm like just flat out stunned when they give up a run. Josh Hader's one of those dudes. I am shocked when Josh Hader gives up a run.
There is very few guys, and I'll say this with all sports, there's very few guys that I will go out of my way to watch. This Milwaukee Brewers pitching staff, especially Woodruff, Burns,
right,
Hader, those are guys that I will sit down and watch 9 innings of baseball, or at least however many long innings they pitch, because it's great stuff.
I still, and maybe Brewers fans won't agree with me on this, I still think if I was managing the Brewers, which is a good thing I'm not, but if it was a Game 7 of the World Series and everyone was totally, 100% ready to go and I had to pick somebody, I still think I'd pick Woodruff over Burns.
Yes.
I just think he's been in more big moments. But you could definitely argue that Corbin Burns is their nastiest pitcher.
Burns is a Cy Young candidate.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if Scherzer wasn't having the year Scherzer had, Burns would probably already have locked up the Cy Young. But I think that, like you said, I think Woodruff's the guy that's like kind of their rock that will be there in any big moment. But I could easily see like Brandon Woodruff pitching in Game 6 and then Burns pitches Game 7, but Woodruff comes out of the bullpen and like gets the save, like Charlie Morton did a couple years ago in the World Series, like Madison Bumgarner's done in the past. I could see Woodruff being that kind of guy. But I've watched every Corbin Burns start since like June. I mean, dude's just fun to watch. Sinker, cutter, curveball, changeup. He doesn't throw anything that's just straight. Everything moves.
And you mentioned Bumgarner. The Diamondbacks are a dumpster fire, but Bumgarner's had a great year.
Mm-hmm.
But the Brewers, 1-9 they've been relatively,
maybe slightly above average.
They're inconsistent. Yeah, it's the big word there is inconsistency.
The big thing for me is if Yelich is half of what he was when he won the MVP a couple years ago, I think Milwaukee wins the World Series.
Yeah, it's
they
valid.
need Yelich back.
Right. And I think that with the Brewers, you don't need inconsistency in your offensive lineup is okay. I mean, if you have lockdown pitchers in the amounts that they do, you're going to be just fine. I mean, how do you win games? You dominate with pitching, mm-hmm. or you just outscore the other team.
You take advantage of timely opportunities.
Exactly. So, but the Brewers don't have that offensive firepower, mm-hmm. very much of it, or at least. But their pitching staff is just elite and locked down. So they have that they have the ladder there in Milwaukee.
Right. Yeah, I'm with you. It's weird that it's weird that we spent the first 25 minutes of On the Horizon talking about baseball, but that's where we're at. I still am a baseball fan first and foremost. So even though the Reds are out, I mean, like you said, I'm excited to see matchups like the Rays and the White Sox, the Rays and the Astros, the Astros and White Sox. Let's just look at, okay, so Here's what we could potentially have in the first round. Let's just pretend that we have, as of now, the standings between the Red Sox and Blue Jays hold the wild cards, and the Dodgers and Cardinals hold the wild cards.
Yeah.
I would predict the Blue Jays beat the Red Sox, honestly. I like the Red Sox as a team more, but I just think the Blue Jays are playing better right now.
I agree. I think the Red Sox have had they've had a great year when nobody expected them to.
Mm-hmm.
They've just kind of fallen off the ladder here in the last few weeks, where Blue Jays have been keeping it very consistent. So I think it depends on where this game will be played and who's pitching, but I think the Blue Jays have this one.
Right, and I'm with you. And I think that the thing that stands out for me, Chris Sale's one dynamite pitcher, but the last couple of years, Chris Sale has been prone to give up the long ball. Even if they're at Fenway, balls get out at Fenway, especially over the Green Monster. And how many righty, mashers the Blue Jays have? Semien, Springer. Springer's a monster in the playoffs. Semien, Vladdy, Bichette, Teoscar Hernandez. I mean, I just feel like even if Sale's on the mound, the Blue Jays take advantage of a couple pitches.
Right.
And then I don't know who they go with. Ryu, Barrios. I'd guess probably Ryu, but I don't know. But I think that their offense is able to get it done, even though the Red Sox offense is also disgusting. That would bring us in the American League to Rays and Blue Jays, a rematch of last year's wild card, and then the White Sox and Astros, which that would be one heck of a series. Just think of the pitching matchups in that. We have Framber Valdez taking on Lance Lynn. We have Rodon versus Greinke. We have Jose Urquidy taking on Dylan Cease. I mean, great pitching matchups in the nasty lineups where the Astros feature Michael Brantley, Yordan Alvarez, Jose Altuve, Carlos Correa, Alex Bregman, Yuli Gurriel. And the White Sox, who we saw yesterday, they feature Luis Robert, who's had an unbelievable year, Eloy Jimenez, Jose Abreu, the reigning MVP, Tim Anderson, Yohan Moncada, Yasmani Grandal. I mean, that's two all-star lineups going head-to-head with a couple all-star pitchers as well. So that would be one heck of a matchup. And, I mean, Rays Blue Jays wouldn't be bad either.
No, not at all. Especially with the year that the Rays are having, Kevin Cash has done, quietly at that, have been really good. And I think that's what the Rays' MO has been over the last 5 years is no one is watching us. There's no eyes on us. We're going to quietly win 95 games and do a deep postseason run. I mean, They made the World Series last year. So the front office and management have been fantastic for the Rays. And two very old school managers in Dusty Baker and Tony La Russa. This is what baseball was supposed to be. This is the kind of baseball that I love. Mm-hmm. The old school mentality, and both the Astros and the White Sox play with that old school mentality, so that's a fun series.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I don't think you even had to throw in the school there. You could have just said two old managers, Dusty
that's
Baker
true.
and Tony La Russa.
Right.
But
try to say that as nice as possible.
We moved to the National League, too. And I mean, the National League, I agree with you. I'd assume, as well as the Cardinals are playing right now, going out to Los Angeles and having to face Max Scherzer, I just think that's too much to overcome.
Right.
So that would bring us to Braves and Brewers, which the Braves lineup going against the Brewers pitching staff, that's fun. Adam Duvall, Jorge Soler, Austin Riley, Freddie Freeman, Ozzie Albies, Dansby Swanson going up against Burns, Woodruff, Peralta. And then you'd have
you can't go up against Burns, Woods, and Peralta and expect to win the series.
That's fair.
It's what we talked about 10 minutes ago.
Right, that's fair.
Especially without
I would pick the Brewers to beat
without
the Braves.
Ozuna, without Acuna, I really don't have a shot.
Right. And then if the Dodgers win the wild card game, we have maybe the most entertaining series of the division series, Giants-Dodgers.
Oh man. And that Giants team scares the heck out of me.
They're good. They find ways.
Man.
They just find ways to win.
Gabe Kapler is one of my favorite managers in baseball.
Lamont Wade had the game-winning hit last night.
I don't understand why the Giants are good. I don't know how they're good, but they're really damn good, and I don't understand why.
Yeah.
But somehow they have the best record in baseball to this point. Sitting here on September 22nd, they have the best record in baseball. Dodgers aren't far behind for the division.
Just one game, right?
It's like a game and a half or something like that, but I don't, with the way that the Giants are playing, I don't see a way that the Dodgers win this division unless the Giants, lose a couple in a row.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the Giants have the West.
Yeah, I like the Rays a lot.
It's funny.
Yeah, it is.
Sitting here walking by, people, hey, but
Yeah, well, we know that one all too well.
Yes.
I really like the Rays. I really like the White Sox.
Yes.
People did ask me back in June. I thought the White Sox would win the World Series back in June.
Right.
But right now, I think whoever wins the NL wins the World Series. I mean, I just think the top three in the NL, Dodgers, Giants, Brewers, you can put them in any order you want. But those three, I think, are just a tier above everyone else.
How fun would a Brewers White Sox World Series be?
Okay, World Series games 1 through 3. Game 1, Woodruff versus Lynn. Game 2, you have Rodon versus Burns. Game 3, you have Giolito versus Peralta.
Oh, my Lord.
And then if you get to Game 4, it would be what? Keuchel versus Hauser. Keuchel versus Eric Lauer, who has like a 3.1 ERA this year. Like, I mean, it's nasty. They could use Hader as an opener, have him go 3 innings.
It's killer.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Gross.
Man.
They have Brent Suter, who's such a good weapon because he has such a funky delivery and he can go like 3-4 innings out of the bullpen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Brewers did a bullpen game in the playoffs where they have Suter start the game and then they use their weapons. They use Justin Topa. They use Daniel Norris. They use John Curtis. They use their big guys at the back end: Brad Boxberger, Devin Williams, Josh Hader. The Brewers pitching staff is so good that their offense only needs to score 3 runs a night, like we said.
It's unbelievable. I mean, the pitching, you don't see consistency like this ever in baseball,
No.
and especially from 3 guys in your rotation, two of which could be easily Cy Young candidates, and Woodruff was for most of the year. But like you said earlier, I think Woodruff is more seasoned in big moments. Mm-hmm. Burns his stuff has just been money. Mm-hmm. But you have 4 guys that are going to be in these playoffs in Buehler, in Scherzer, in Burns, in Woodruff, and there's plenty of others that have been lights out on the mound this year. So it's going to be a blast, to say the least.
And you want to hear the craziest part? Freddie Peralta started the year in the bullpen.
Yeah.
Long reliever.
Yeah.
Corbin Burns had an ERA of 8.3 a couple of years ago.
Right.
Brandon Woodruff, nobody knew who Brandon Woodruff was until like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It's crazy how this all unfolded. But like I said, credit to Craig Counsell and credit to David Stearns, their GM. I mean, they've built a juggernaut.
They have.
It's really, really
They're
good.
really good.
They are. And like I said, I think the winner of the NL wins the series. Giants, Dodgers, or Brewers. I just think those 3 are a tier above everybody else.
Right. And, if the Rays get there, I wouldn't count out the Rays by any means.
But not having Glasnow hurts a
lot. It does. And the White Sox look really good, too. I wouldn't be surprised to see them come out with the Commissioner's Trophy. But like you said, these top 3 teams in the NL, one of the 3 is going to win the World Series, if not this year, in the next 2 years. Honestly, the Dodgers already won it last year.
I wish we restructured the playoff bracket where we just did the bracket by records instead of by league, because I think we should have a Dodgers-Giants World Series or a Dodgers-Brewers World Series. Like, I mean, let the best teams go at it for the ship.
Right. So it's going to be fun. That's the moral of the story here after the past half hour.
It is. No doubt about it. We're going to step away for just a few minutes. When we come back, we're actually going to get into Horizon League talk. The schedules came out for both basketball teams, both conference and non-conference, as well as recapping soccer over the weekend and getting ready for the volleyball match taking on NKU later on this weekend. So exciting times here at Wright State, and we hope you're having fun with us. We'll be right back to On the Horizon on the other side. Don't go anywhere. Back here on the horizon, I appreciate you hanging out with me. My name's Shay Neal. First show of the semester, and it's good to be back. We spent the first half hour of the show doing something that we don't do very often on the horizon. I don't know. I'm still rusty. You'll have to forgive me. But we talked about a sport that doesn't have to do with the Horizon League. In context, we talked about Major League Baseball. I ranted about the Reds and how bad they are. And then we talked about how fun the playoffs are going to be. So if you're a baseball fan, you'll enjoy that first segment. Go find us on YouTube. If you are just now joining us, WWSU 1069, give us a subscribe on there as well. You can follow us on our social media at WWSU 1069 on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can follow me on Instagram at Shay Neal, SHEANEAL 01. You can follow me on Twitter at ESPN Shay Neal. But that is also on the logo down at the bottom. So, let's finally get into Wright State sports, shall we? I'm excited to talk about these soccer teams because these soccer programs have been impressive to start the season. The guys, big win against Green Bay on Saturday last week. And now they take on Northern Kentucky this weekend in Highland Heights. That'll be a good one. But Wright State, this is a team that has a lot of experience. Guys like Harvey Slade, Joel Quadio, Braden McNitt, as well as Eads Hanema and Zion Beaton. It's a team with a lot of experience. It's a team that has a lot of talent, and they've been showing it so far this year. I'm excited to see what they're capable of as the year goes on. But Northern Kentucky this weekend, and then next week a showdown with the Milwaukee Panthers. So that should be a fun one to say the least. As for the Lady Raider soccer program, the first year of Travis Sobers got off to a very strong start with a win over Marshall in double overtime. A close loss to Oklahoma State in Stillwater, 1-0. But they have as well had some impressive wins over Akron, and then coming up short. They're on a little bit of a skid. They lost 2-1 to a very good Milwaukee team that's the defending champions in the Horizon League, and then they tied Youngstown State in double overtime. They actually play tomorrow night against Green Bay. They also take on IUPUI on Sunday. That'll be back at Rinsler Sports Complex at Alumni Field. And I'm excited for that one as well. So make sure you support the Raider soccer programs, the guys in action in Highland Heights this weekend, and the ladies in action tomorrow night against Green Bay and Sunday against IUPUI. As for the volleyball team, and this is a little sneak peek to next week's show, we will be having the volleyball team in studio next week, and I'm very excited for that. So make sure you tune in next week. But they are 8-4 heading into conference play. They had a very tough non-conference schedule. They beat Michigan State in 5 sets. They came up short to Ball State, but beat Marshall, beat DePaul, beat the UD Flyers, beat Central Michigan, beat UTSA, beat Northern Iowa. So it was a very impressive non-conference display. Lost to a couple teams that are going to be very, very good when it's all said and done. But so are the Wright State Raiders. They're going to be very, very good when it's all said and done as well. They take on the Northern Kentucky Norse on Saturday at 4 p.m. That is at McLean, and that'll be myself and Parker Test on the call. I'm very excited for that. We'll be doing it live on Facebook Live as well as on YouTube, so a lot of different ways you can check it out. And if you can't make it out to McLean, you can hang out with us for that big-time showdown with the Northern Kentucky Norse this weekend. They hit the road after this weekend, take on UIC, Milwaukee, and Green Bay. So a big trip there. UIC, the defending runner-ups in the Horizon League, a very young team that had a lot of very solid talent. Paolo Santiago is just one of the main players on that roster. Milwaukee is a team that is a little hit or miss. They've had some highs, they've had some lows, but they're a strong team when they're on their game. And Green Bay is another team that's kind of in the same boat. A top 5 team in the league trying to take that next step and be a championship contender. Northern Kentucky and UIC are probably the 2 biggest competition teams to Wright State this season. The Norse featuring a lot of really talented outside hitters, a very strong offense, and they've played Wright State very well in the past, including beating them in the Horizon League tournament 2 seasons ago. UIC, like I mentioned, is a very young team, had 11 freshmen on their roster a season ago, but they've have a ton of chemistry, a ton of talent, and they're coached very, very well. That was a 5-set thriller last year in the Horizon League Championship, and I expect next Thursday to be just the same. Looking at the stats on the year for the volleyball program, I'm excited this team's been just dominant. Their hitting percentage actually not as high as you'd expect from this team. Like I said, they played a very tough non-conference schedule. but only a 161 hitting percentage, which is a little uncharacteristic of this team dating back to last season. But 550 kills on the season so far, 509 assists. They have 59 service aces this year, which is a lot higher than the teams they're going up against. They're doing a very nice job in the serving department this year, as well as digs. They've always been that great at digs on defense. 888 so far this season, as well as getting a nice 2.2 blocks per set as well. So it's been a great start to the year for the Wright State Raiders. You look at the leading scorers individually for the Raiders this year, and we can't start talking about this Wright State roster without talking about what a year it has been for the junior Megan Alders. Megan Alders on the season so far averaging just a hair under 3 points per set, 125 kills. That leads the team. It just hasn't been unbelievable. A hitting percentage of 155, 388 total attempts. It's just been a great year. And she's done a great job where something I'm gonna talk about as the year goes on is how this team is dangerous because they have players that step up and carve out roles for themselves year after year. They have players that were small impact pieces, small contributors, turn into stars. And that's exactly what we've seen this year with two big names that I'm going to mention today, Megan Alders and Callie Morton. Very, very similar in the sense that they have taken that next step and become stars on this program. So what a year it's been. Celia Powers, the senior as well, also having a nice season with 2.9 points per set, 109 kills, but a higher hitting percentage at 180 for Celia. Also has 8 service aces to Celia Powers. So what a year it's been for Celia. Got her 1,000th career kill just a couple weeks ago as well. Nisa Baker sitting on the season. This is the main threat in the middle for the Raiders. And she's had a nice solid season as well with 85 kills. But the highest hitting percentage on the team, I should say, at 204 in terms of the starters. So it's been a nice year. It's been an impressive year for that front line for the Wright State Raiders. And that's why they're getting a lot of, their opportunities. That's why they're getting a lot of their big moments. Laney Stevenson got her 1,000th career dig earlier this season as well. It's been another outstanding season for Laney. Just doing what she always does, and that's setting up the stars around her. And already on the year, 418 assists. That's unbelievable. Unbelievable. What a year it's been, like I said. 8-4 heading into conference play, and I'm excited to see this team in action this weekend against the Northern Kentucky Norse at McLean. That's 3 days away. So make sure that if you have time, head out to McLean. It's absolutely electric in there, and support your Lady Raider Volleyball Club. And if you can't make it, you can hang out with me and Parker Testa on WWSU 1069. You can follow us on there. You can stream it on our station. Head to our website, wwsu1069.org, and there's a link to stream right there. You can also go to YouTube, stream us there, WWSU 1069, or we will also be streaming on Facebook Live as well. So a lot of ways you can catch that volleyball match this weekend, but make sure you catch it. And they will be in studio next week as well for the show, so I'm excited for that. Now we move on to basketball, something that I'm very, very excited for as the year goes on, because there's, I don't want to say different expectations, but it's a different story that's setting up for both of these programs, where with the ladies, you don't really know what to expect because it's a new program with a new coaching staff. It's a new era of Lady Raider basketball. And is it going to, there's going to be bumps in the road along the way. And I think you just have to understand that before the season starts. But I think this team's capable of some really special things. For the men's team, it's not the opposite, but this is a team that has a lot of veteran leadership. This is a team that has experience of playing in big games and having a championship expectations, but coming up short in the tournament 2 years in a row. Do they finally get over the hump and bring that Horizon League championship back to Wright State? So 2 different storylines setting up for these programs. Let's look at the Lady Raider schedule first. I really like this non-conference schedule. They start their season in Peoria, Illinois, against the Bradley Braves on November 9th. And that'll be a fun one to start the season. They take on Toledo and some action, if you will. They also take on Xavier at home, Marshall on the road, and then a little bit later on, Indiana on the road as well. So it's a non-conference schedule that will test them very well for Horizon League play. They start their conference schedule on November 18th. That'll be against Milwaukee on the road and Green Bay on the road, two teams that are very, very strong. Milwaukee came second in the league last season, and Green Bay coming in fourth, but Green Bay is also obviously always a competitor under Kevin Borseth, so that should be a really good test to start the season, the trip up north to Wisconsin. They return home. Their conference opener at home will be on December 3rd against the IPFW Mastodons. The Cleveland State Vikings also come to town that weekend. And then a little bit later on, heading into the new year, Youngstown State on January 7th. One that I'm very excited for is Northern Kentucky on January 22nd. That'll still times to be announced on that, but Milwaukee and Green Bay also come to the Netter Center late January as well. And then senior night will be on February 26th against the Oakland Golden Grizzlies. Like I said, it's a team that's under new head coach Kerry Hoffman. It's a team that has a lot of familiar faces, a team that has a lot of new faces. Destiny Jackson, Jada Roberson, Shamari Hale, KK White, Jada Wright will be asked to step up and become leaders on this team. But we also have a lot of new talent coming in as well. The transfer Deesh Beck, the freshman out of Orlando, Zora Frey Chin, as well as the sophomore from Fairmont, Makira Webster. So it should be a team that has a good mix of veterans and youth on this program. And I'm excited to see what they can accomplish with that schedule. Like I said, that non-conference slate will test them very, very well for Horizon League play. It's a team that I think will be competitive. I don't know if they're going to be a contender. I have to see them on the court first to know that. But it is a team that I expect to see fighting for a spot in the top 5 in the conference. So I'm excited for that. Let's get to the men's side. They start their season at home on November 9th against Lake Erie, the Lake Erie Storm. That'll be a time, like I said, all these times still to be announced. But this should be a big-time non-conference schedule for the guys as well. They hit the road, take on the Marshall Thundering Herd, who have Tavarius Kinley, who's one of the best scorers at non-Power 5s in all of college basketball. Dropped 30 points here at the Netter Center last season. So they get a chance to throw down with the Marshall Thundering Herd once again in Huntington, West Virginia. And then they head to West Lafayette and take on the Purdue Boilermakers out of the Big Ten. That'll be a fun one. Purdue's always got good bigs, good size, and it's a team that I think will give Wright State a tough test and prepare Scott Nagy's group very well. A little bit later on, they head to the Naples Invitational, take on George Washington, and then as well as Kent State or James Madison. That'll be a fun tournament to get to see how this team stacks up with other teams from around college basketball. Their conference schedule begins on December 2nd when they take on the IPFW Mastodons in Fort Wayne. They'll also take on the defending champion Cleveland State Vikings up in Cleveland on December 4th. They head back home, have a couple non-conference showdowns with Akron and Tennessee Tech, and then hit the road for NC State. So NC State, Purdue, and Marshall, 3 really tough games in their non-conference schedule this year. Pat Baldwin Jr., the new star of the Horizon League, comes to the Netter Center on December 30th. The Green Bay Phoenix come to town to start the new year on January 1st, as well as the UIC Flames and the IUPUI Jaguars the following weekend. They head to Highland Heights on January 10th, as well as Youngstown State on the 15th, and then return home for Cleveland State on January 28th, IPFW on January 30th, and then the final game of Antoine Davis at the Netter Center on February 3rd against the Detroit Mercy Titans. Senior night this year for the Raiders will be on February 26th against Robert Morris, and then also the big showdown with Northern Kentucky at the Netter Center February 13th on Super Bowl Sunday. That time to be announced, but we'll make sure that we pack the Netter Center for that one. The 2 best teams in the conference over the last 5 years, the biggest rivalry in the Horizon League, Wright State and Northern Kentucky. We look at this roster. I'm very, very excited about this team. Obviously, no more Loudon Love. That is a hit to this program, losing one of the greatest players that it's ever had. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to, pretend that it's not a big deal. It is. But I'm excited to see what this team offers in terms of, they still have a lot of star power. Grant Basiley. What a year Grant Basiley had last year. Now heading into his redshirt junior season. But Basiley last year, let's just talk about the jump he had. He went from, averaging 6 points a game, along with about 4 rebounds a game, to last season being just an absolute force for this program. In a year where they went 18-6, Grant Basiley averaged last season a very, very strong 62% from the field, 48% from three as well, and put up a very strong 15 points a game along with 7 rebounds. And that was while competing with Loudon Love and Tanner Holden for points, for rebounds, all that kind of stuff. So Grant Basiley is now the star big on this team, and there's no denying that. And Grant's gonna have to step up and put up Horizon League Player of the Year caliber numbers, but I think he can do that after we saw the jump last year. Tanner Holden back as well. Tanner Holden's going to be a very key piece to this team. Averaged 16 points a game last year, along with 7 rebounds and about 3 assists a game as well. Tanner Holden's also one of the best defenders on this team. He can shoot from the mid. He can play wing guard. He can play forward down low. He's a very versatile forward on this program, and I'm excited to see Tanner Holden take that next step and be a leader with this Raider team. Tim Finke, another guy that will come back. He started in every single game he played last year. Was the best three-point shooter on the team, shooting 41% from the field. He averaged as well 10 points a game. He was the 4th and final player that averaged 10 points a game last season. And he'll have to, I think we could see Tim Finke make the jump to about 14, 15 points a game this year. I think he's a perfect 3-and-D kind of player that modern college basketball adores. A guy that plays probably the best defender on this team is Tim Finke. And then you'll also see him, be a great shooter from the corners, on the wings, all that kind of stuff. So a perfect 3-and-D guy, which is the type of player that Scott Nagy loves. Tanner Holden, we saw it with Jalen Hall, Trey Calvin, Alex Hubricks. These 3-and-D guys are what makes Wright State what they are. Speaking of Trey Calvin, he's back for another year as the point guard of the Wright State Raiders. Averaged 9.7 points a game last year. 35% from the field. That's going to have to improve a little bit, but Trey Calvin did average 4 assists a game last year. Also averaged a steal per game as well. So Trey Calvin did take a lot of steps forward last year, but what's going to have to change this year is the percentages from the field. 35%, like I mentioned, 32% from 3, and 79% from the line. You'd love to see those creep up to about 45%, 38%, and 85%, something like that. But Trey Calvin will get another year as the starting point guard here at Wright State. A huge additions via the transfer portal as well, starting with Riley Voss, the senior from the Moeller area. He went to Cornell and now transfers to Wright State. He played, averaged about 11 minutes per game over the course of his career, but another guy that has good size, 6'6", good shooter, 31% from beyond the arc. And he'll come back and add some depth at the forward position for Wright State. Another guy that I'm very excited to see is coming from another team in the Horizon League, CJ Wilborn, the 6'7" forward from the Milwaukee Panthers. And he'll be a very nice piece for this team. Could start, could come off the bench. We still got to wait and see. But he was a member of the Horizon League all-freshman team after, just 2 years ago. And I'm excited to see what he does. His 2 years at Milwaukee, he started 41 games, averaged about 4 points, 3 rebounds a game as a freshman, and then 6 points and 3 rebounds a game as a sophomore. But you have to remember that he was playing with guys like T-John Lucas, DeAndre Golston, and a lot of really talented players on that Milwaukee team. So big chance for the Raiders to, like I said earlier, take that next step, finally get to that Horizon League championship status. They've come up short in the tournament the last couple of years, but I think this team can get it done. You have Alex Hubricks off the bench, Keaton Norris, a true freshman point guard with a ton of expectations, the younger brother of Loyola Chicago point guard Braden Norris, A.J. Braun, another freshman that should make a nice impact out of Bishop Fenwick, in the Dayton area, of course. You'll see Brandon Noel, the redshirt freshman out of who went to Chillicothe. You also have experience on the bench as well with Andrew Wellage, James Manns, Andy Neff, and TJ Nagy. So this team should be a lot of fun to watch. This team should be, all of these teams that we mentioned today should be a lot of fun to watch as the year goes on, and I can't wait to cover them throughout the year on the Horizon. So that'll do it for today's show. We appreciate you hanging out with us here for the first show of the year. We'll be back again next Wednesday, 1 to 2. You can follow, like I said, you can follow the show on WWSU 106.9 FM. You can watch it on YouTube as well, WWSU 106.9. Follow me on Twitter at ESPN Shea Neal and at Shea Neal 01 on Instagram as well to keep up with updates surrounding the show and all that kind of stuff. So next week we will have the volleyball team in, a couple players to talk about the showdown with Northern Kentucky, to talk about the conference schedule coming up, and to talk about the non-conference schedule that they played, the very tough schedule that got them ready to defend their title here in the Horizon League. So I can't wait for it, and we'll see you next week on the Horizon. But until next time, so long. and Raider up.